Good afternoon, one and all. We are learning Indian economy. In the previous lecture, we have learned the development strategy in India, in which we have started Mahal Nobin's model of growth. In the same model, we have learned the need for rapid industrialization, heavy industries versus light industries, and today we are going to learn the important implication of this strategy. Okay, the important implications of the heavy industry strategy on the basis of these points. So first is small scale industry and supply of consumer goods. The planners of the Nehru era were clear in their mind that the growth of heavy industries would be limited by the growth of consumer goods in the household sector. Naturally, they did not ignore or neglect the growth of small sector. For instance, the second plan framework stated that the greater the marketable surplus of consumer goods in the household or hand industries, the greater will be the possibilities of investments in heavy industries without any fear or inflation. For one thing, the growing population has to be fed and clothed. Actually, the demand for consumer goods will increase with the growth of population. For another, increasing rate of investment on heavy industries with long gestation period would be responsible for increase in money supply with the general public, and in the absence of matching supply of consumer goods will result in inflationary pressures. The Nehru Malnobin's model gave active encouragement to cottage and small industries purchasing consumer goods. It was asserted that the input output ratio would be low in small scale and cottage industries, and the gestation period was also very short. And obviously, the small scale sector was ideally suited to increase the supply of consumer goods. Besides, Professor Mahal Nobbins argued that the cost of production in the cottage and small scale sector need not be higher than that of the factory sector, since the small scale sector would also be making use of modern machineries and electricity. Nehruji also gave due importance to small scale industries and agriculture, which were the sources of consumer goods. In his own words, the test of countries' advance in industrialization is heavy industry, not the small industries that may be put up. That does not mean that the small industries should be ignored. They are highly important in themselves for production and for employment. The framework of the second 5 year plan stated the strategy requires all out efforts for the maximum utilization of capacity in existing industries and for the development of additional production in the capital light or a small sector of industries. Second, the place of agriculture in the development strategy. What is the importance of agriculture in the development strategy? On agriculture, Nehruji stated, we shall find that this industrial progress uh, cannot be achieved without agricultural advance and progress. Everyone knows that unless we are self sufficient in agriculture, we cannot have the wherewithal to advance in industries. If we have to import food, then we are doomed so far as progress is concerned. We cannot import both food and machineries. Nehruji says that we cannot import food and machinery in the heavy industries strategies. It is thus clear that the Mahalanobin strategy of self sustained growth based on heavy industries did not ignore or neglect the growth of small and cottage industries for increasing the supply of consumer goods. In spite of many favorable factors for increasing the supply of consumer goods, Professor Mahalanobis did anticipate shortage in supply of consumer goods and possible rising price and cost, endangering the planning process. In this strategy of development, therefore, he provided for fiscal and physical control, including rationing to keep the price in check. Next is role of the public sector. The Mahalanobis investment strategy assigned a dominant role to the public sector as investment in the heavy sector was very high, and as the gestation period was too long, and that too with low profitability, the government left that heavy industries should be by and large in the public sector. Except in isolated cases, the private sector too was not keen on providing infrastructural facilities. Besides the control of the public sector, uh, I say besides the control of the public sector would vest the control of the commanding heights with the government, and this would help the development of a socialist economy. Above all, the public sector would prevent the rise of monopoly ownership and exploitation, which are inherent in the private sector. It was for those reasons that from the second plan onwards, the government went in a big way for the expansion of the public sectors. Now, the role of the private sector, what is the important implication um, for the role of private sector? in the heavy industry strategy. While giving direct responsibility to the public sector for infrastructure investment and the development of heavy industries, the development strategy expected the private sector to develop and expands its activity in a large area of economic activity. In fact, the private sector was given an important place in the mixed economy of India. But the activities of the private sector were seen to be essentially complementary to a rapid growing public sector. The private sector was also expected to function in harmony with the overall aims and policies of economic planning. The planners anticipated a growing trend toward concentration of economic power in the private sector, and to counter this trend, the planners provided larger opportunities for new entrants for medium and small size unit, and else and I say and also for extensive use of controls and regulations, and also use of appropriate fiscal measures. The role of foreign trade and foreign aid. Initially, the Planning Commission relied considerably on foreign aid to meet India's requirement of capital goods. As our foreign exchange earned, or as our foreign exchange earning were inadequate. So, as we know that in the initial stages, our foreign exchange earning were inadequate. Okay. So, initially, the Planning Commission relied considerably on foreign aid to meet India's requirement of capital goods. At the same time, the planners had to provide for foreign aid since the rate of domestic saving was inadequate to match the planned higher rate of investment. They also emphasized that the creation or export surplus and export promotion should go hand in hand with rapid industrialization. However, this aspect of the strategy was forgotten in practice even during the first decade of planning. The third plan clearly brought out this point. One of the main drawbacks in the past has been that the programs for exports has not been regarded as an integral part of the country's development efforts. So we say that these are the important implications of the strategy of heavy industries. Now, regarding this strategy, I want to discuss the development strategy and employment objective. In the Mahal Novice model, we are going to learn the development strategy and employment objectives. The Mahalanobin strategy of planning was essentially to achieve the objective of self sustained long term growth via investment in the heavy sector. For rapid industrialization and diversification of the economy, the Mahalanobin strategy considered the development of basic industries and industries which make machines needed for further development as the crucial element. This strategy naturally came in conflict with the employment objective of our plans. For a fast and self-sustained economic growth could be a could be assured in economic only through the emphasis on capital intensive production, namely by building of economic and social overhead, explosion exploration and development of minerals, and promotion of basic industries like steel machines, building, coal and heavy electricals. I'm repeating my words. For a fast and self-sustained economic growth could be assured in only through emphasis on capital intensive production. That is, for example, by building of economic and social overhead, exploration and development of minerals, and promotion of basic industries, uh, coal and heavy electricals, etc. To solve the conflict between rapid growth on the one side and immediate increase in employment opportunities on the other, the Mahalanobis strategy adopted a policy of encourage labor intensive techniques in consumer goods industries, even as the capital intensive sector of heavy industry was being expanded rapidly. So, this was the strategy of employment in the Mahalanobis model or the uh, heavy industry model. Now, the strategy to achieve social objectives by the use of fiscal policy. The Mahalanobis investment strategy broadly implied that increase in production would be accompanied by better and more equal distribution of income and wealth. Apart from this assumption, Indian planners relied on Fabian socialist strategy of using fiscal policy of taxation and public expenditure to achieve the two social objective of planning. That is the removal of inequalities of income and wealth on the one hand, and the establishment of socialist society based on equality and justice on the other. Fiscal policy, here I want to do what's a fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is the policy of the government, and the basic components of the fiscal policies are public debt, public expenditure and taxation. So, fiscal policy aiming at the reduction of inequality of income and wealth had two aspects. Highly progressive income tax was to be imposed to loop off the high incomes beyond a certain level, that is marginal rate of income tax at one time was approximately 97.25%. Estate duty was to be highly progressive so as to remove a portion of large fortune. Other tax falling exclusively on Affluent sections of the community include wealth tax, capital gains tax, and gift tax, while direct taxes attempted to transfer part of the income and wealth of the rich to the government. Public expenditure uh, to the I said to the government public expenditure was especially used to promote the welfare of the lower income groups and weaker section of the community. A fast and concerted development of education was to be an important mean for ensuring greater equality of opportunities to different section of the population. Public expenditure on public health and sanitization, housing, etc., was used to achieve a measure of redistribution in the consumption of basic necessities such as health and medical care, sanitization, water supply, and cheap housing. Tribals, Dalits, and other backward classes were to receive favored treatment under special programs. Apart from the use of fiscal policy, the planners did not adopt any measure for direct redistribution of property and wealth to achieve reduction of disparities of income and wealth to prevent concentration of economic power. The only exception was the half-hearted attempts of half-hearted attempts at land reforms and selling on land holding in rural areas. Now, if we understand the appraisal of the heavy industry and development strategy, we can say that the heavy industries investment strategy formulated during the second plan was the basis of the development of Indian economy during the last decades, except for the short period of 2 years, also 1977 to 79, when the Janata Party attempted a shift in favor of small industries and consumer goods. The heavy industry strategy was held during the second and third plan, but came in for considerable criticism later. The heavy industry strategy was held during the second and third plan, but came in for considerable criticism later. It was commended for the smart rise in saving and investment rates in the country, for the impressive development of economic infrastructure, especially in irrigation, energy, transport, and communication, etc. Considerable expansion in the capital goods sector via the dominant role of the public sector, self sufficiency in consumer goods, in basic commodities, diversification and expansion of industrial capacity, and impressive growth of science and technology. However, this development strategy was severely criticized for the inadequate emphasis on agriculture and small scale and cottage industries. For the emergence of continuous trade deficits, for growing unemployment in the country, and above all, for growing inequalities of income and wealth on the one side and very slow reduction of poverty on the other side. So, here we have completed the development strategy of Mahal Nobbins model of growth. So, development strategy in India and the Mahal Nobbins model of growth, which is based on the heavy industries. So, here we are not discussing the other lots of model, but I want to discuss the LPG model. Very shortly, I want to discuss the LPG model. The LPG model of development was a development which was introduced in 1991 by the then finance minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. With a big bang was intended to charter a new strategy with emphasis on liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Several major changes at the domestic level were introduced. Firstly, I say, uh, firstly, areas hitherto reserved for the public sector were open to private sector. The government intended to transfer the loose making units to the private sectors, but it failed because there were no takes for them. Instead, the government started disinvestment of the highly profit making public sector units, and the proceeds were used to reduce fiscal deficits. Thus, due to various social constraints, the government could not carry for uh, ward its programs of privatization, though it did succeed in liberalizing the economy to the private sector, both domestic and foreign. Secondly, the permitting or the secondly by permitting the private sector to set up industrial unit without taking a license, the government removed certain shackles which were holding back or delaying the process of private investment. Thirdly, by abolishing the uh, threshold limit of assets in the respect of MRTP. What is MRTP? MRTP means Monopoly and Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969. So, respect of MRTP companies and a dominant undertaking, the government freed the business houses to undertake investment without any ceiling being prescribed by the MRTP Commission. Obviously, consideration of promoting growth were more dominant with the government, and such issues as concentration of the economic power were assigned a backseat. Fourthly, if I say, with a view to facilitate direct foreign investment, the government decides to grant approval for direct foreign investment up to 51% in high priority areas. The government could also consider uh, proposals involving more than 51% equity, but such proposal would require prior clearance of the government. No permission was required for hiring foreign technician, uh, foreign testing of indigenously developed technologies, etc. Fifthly, a chronically sick public sector enterprises were referred to the Board for Industrial and Financial Reconstruction BIFR for the formulation of revival and rehabilitation schemes. A social security mechanism was introduced to protect the interest of worker uh, likely to be affected by such rehabilitation packages. Sixthly, to improve the performance of public sector enterprises, greater economy was to PSU management, that is public sector management, public sector units management, and the boards of public sector companies were made more professional. Lastly, I say that the economy was open to other countries to encourage more exports, to facilitate the import of foreign capital and technology and other allied imports. Reduction in import duties and other barriers were brought about. LPG model of development emphasizes a bigger role for the private sector. It envisaged a much larger quantum of foreign direct investment to supplement our growth process. It aims at a strategy of export led growth as against import substitution practiced earlier. It aims at reducing the role of the state significantly and thus abundance planning fundamentals in favor of more liberal and market driven pattern of the development. So there are so many critics have pointed out in the certain fundamental weaknesses of the LPG model of the development. So I don't want to go with the leakages or the weakness of the LPG model here because I in the syllabus we are going to learn the 1991 industrial policy in which we will learn this in a very depth manner. So here I'm not going to discuss the limitations. Okay, there were so many limitations of the LPG model, but here I don't want to discuss every limitations because we will learn the new industrial policy of 1991. There's a one chapter in your syllabus. We'll learn this in a very depth manner. Okay, so here we have completed the objectives and what I have to say, objectives and strategy of economic planning in India in the different heads. First, we have learned a historical review of planning, then objectives of economic planning in India, and after that, I should go with the PPT, which things we have learned. So, objectives and strategy, in which we have learned the long run objective. The objectives were divided into different heads, then evolution of the long term objective of the planning. What is democratical socialism in India? India is a mixed economy. Planning process in the mixed economy, distortion in the planning process, and the development strategies which were taken in India. So first was the Mahalanobis model of growth, and there were Nehru versus Gandhian model. We can discuss in a depth. We could discuss, but here I directly jump on the LPG model. So the basic two models were the Marl-Robbins model and the LPG model we have discussed. So in the next lecture, we will learn the other topics of the planning, or we will start the Niti Aayog, how the Niti Aayog is, how the planning commission becomes the Niti Aayog. So have a nice day.